Good to see you today. I hope you're having a good day. We're going to be looking at the account Jesus healing the demon-possessed man, Legion, and our hymn today is "Oh, to be like Thee."
Oh, to be like Thee, blessed Redeemer, this is my constant longing and prayer. Gladly I'll forfeit all of earth's treasures, Jesus, Thy perfect likeness to wear. Oh, to be like Thee, oh, to be like Thee, blessed Redeemer, pure as Thou art. Come in Thy sweetness, come in Thy fullness, stamp Thine own image deep on my heart.
To our passage, we're looking in Mark chapter 5, after the Lord calms the storm, where we looked at yesterday in Mark 4. They come to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces, neither could anyone tame him. And always, day and night, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. Jesus sees him from afar. The man runs and worships him. He bowed down is the idea, because he cries out, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you by God that you do not torment me." There's a lot of interesting things here. "I implore you by God" is one of them. For he said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit, what is your name?" And he begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. Other accounts, the abyss, did not want to go there. A large herd of swine was feeding. They asked, the demons begged, "Send us to the swine that we may enter them." And at once Jesus gave them permission. The swine run down the cliff and drown in the sea. Those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and the country, and they went out to see what it was that had happened. And then they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right mind. Those who saw it told the people how it had happened, about the swine, and they begged Jesus to leave. Jesus gets in the boat, and the demon-possessed man, who had been demon-possessed, begged that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but he said to him, "Go home to your friends, tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you." And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. Okay. What points might we make? One is, talks about the unclean spirit. Immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. But when it's all said and done, it's not just one unclean spirit, is there? No, there's a lot. And I was thinking about the verse in 1 John, talking about the Lord, that in him is no darkness at all. And I was sort of contrasting darkness and light. And in the Lord there's no darkness. But in those who are demon-possessed, you have the account of the parable about the demon that leaves the house and then goes and invites 7 more, if I'm remembering it correctly. I believe it was Mary Magdalene, out of whom was cast 7 demons. And I was just thinking about other accounts where it looks like there's just one demon. Well, how much demon is too much? How much of the devil is too much? If in the Lord there's no darkness, well, then any amount is too much. And we need to be careful about not giving place to the devil. How much of the devil? This man was full of demons, legion, just full of them. Mary Magdalene, a few. Others maybe just one. One was still too much, and the Lord took care of it. And so, think about uncleanness, as they're called unclean spirits, and think about how much of the devil is too much. To our passage, you can contrast the condition of the man, because when he's introduced, talks about no one could bind him, shackles been pulled apart, broken in pieces. Parallel accounts talk about how he was naked as well. He's always night and day crying out. You might think about how interrupting that would be. Talks about his dwelling among the tombs. Here, verse 5 talks about the mountains, but verse 3 is dwelling among the tombs. And so, imagine going to see the tomb of a loved one, and this is the sight. This person who's naked, who's crying out, who's cutting himself with stones, and it's just a horrible scene. And then you contrast it with verse 15, and he's sitting, and he's clothed, and he's in his right mind. And then they were afraid. You remember in the storm, after the Lord calms the storm, the disciples were afraid? Here, the Lord heals the man, and then they're afraid. It's interesting, isn't it? Just contrast their conditions. And the point is, back to our hymn, "Oh, to be like thee." Calm, in his right mind, and clothed, sitting at the feet of Jesus. He begs to go with Jesus as Jesus departs, but the Lord tells him that that's not what he had for him. No, go home to your friends, tell them the great things the Lord has done for you, and how he has had compassion on you. Some people the Lord would say, come and follow. The apostles, the rich young rulers, sell what you have, give to the poor, come follow me. But other people, and he's not calling him to not be a disciple. No, you don't have to literally, you don't have to physically follow Jesus. We don't have to be living 2,000 years ago to be the Lord's disciple. No, wherever we go, we're following Jesus, if we're following Jesus. And so he tells the man, go and tell your friends. And that's the thing, this man, he had had a life before this. He had friends, he had family. Go home. He had a home, and his home wasn't in the mountains, and his home wasn't in the tombs. So go home and tell them the great things. Tell them the great things the Lord has done for you. And he goes and he does exactly that. Wouldn't that have been a sight? I'm sure they remembered their friend fondly. And there's nothing they could do for the man. There's nothing they could do for their friend. And then all of a sudden their friend returns. And don't you think the first question had to be, what happened? And the man could say, I would like to talk to you about Jesus. Appreciate you. Hope you have a good day. Join us tomorrow for another portion of our daily praise.